Say you like the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Okay.
And you just want to make kind of like a West Coast style pale ale.
Okay.
That's like, let's see, that's a base malt, a specialty malt, probably 2 kinds of hops, and 5 ingredients plus water.
Okay.
And it's just a matter of like following a recipe and putting them together the right way, and you're done.
Okay. So what? Where do you have to? Okay. Let's pretend I don't know anything about brewing beer because I don't.
Okay.
All I know is that yeast is involved.
Yeah.
And water.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
What are the other ingredients?
All right.
What happens?
Okay, so here's how you turn. Basically, making beer is the process of turning grain and water into a fermented beverage.
Okay.
Okay. Barley is used to as your primary ingredient. So what you're doing is you're looking for sugar that can be fermented, right? And the sugar feeds the yeast. You get that sugar out of malted barley. And
okay, so you could take regular barley and malt it?
you could. It's a lot easier to go to a store and buy it from someone who's done it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Because what they do is barley is put into a kiln. And then depending on the heat of the kiln and the time of the barley in the kiln, the barley itself changes. The lower the temperature and the less time it's in there, the lighter the barley is. Think of it like putting toast in a toaster.
Okay.
Right? And then, so if you put toast in a toaster and you don't leave it in for very long, it's just going to make it kind of crunchy. It's not going to affect the flavor of the bread very much.
Right.
But if you leave it in there for a long time up until it gets burned, then it's going to very differently change the flavor of it. That's how kilning barley works.
Okay.
To malt it.
And when they kiln it, to malt it, is it just barley and water?
It's just barley that goes into the kiln.
Not even
the water comes into the brewing process. So then what you do is you get all that grain.
Yeah.
Right? You get the amount of grain that you want to use, and that varies from beer style to beer style. And there's different kinds of different levels of malting of the barley that you use.
Right.
And that's unnecessarily technical. It doesn't matter. All you need to know is that you get a bunch of grain together and you crush it.
Yeah.
Then you take all that crushed grain and you put it into something like a big in brewing, like a big pot or a big bucket or a cooler or something like that. Then you add water, hot water, and depending on the temperature of the water, different chains of sugar molecules will be extracted from the malted barley.
Okay.
If the water is on the cool side, sugar where the molecule chains are very long will come out. That sugar cannot be eaten by the yeast. It's called unfermentable sugar. That's what gives beer sweetness and body.
Okay.
Right? Then as the temperature gets a little bit higher, the molecules get shorter and the yeast can actually eat those molecules and bite them off the chain.
Okay.
And then they can ferment them, and that is called fermentable sugar.
Okay.
Then so what you do is you take that grain and that water, you mix it all up, and then you let it sit for a certain amount of time, and that varies from beer to beer. Usually it's about an hour. Sometimes it's a little bit more.
Okay. All right. Let me, so you have malted barley.
Mm-hmm.
You crush it.
Yep.
You add water, and depending on the heat of the water, you create essentially a fermented liquid from that.
A fermentable liquid.
A fermentable liquid.
Yeah,
okay.
The fermentation doesn't happen until you put the yeast in, and that comes a little bit later.
Okay, because now you're just water and barley.
Right.
Okay.
So now what you basically have is a very sweet, sugary liquid.
Flavored liquid. Okay, got it.
And it kind of tastes like the water in oatmeal, I guess.
Right.
Jesus,
this is fascinating.
And then you collect all that liquid.